And feel free to use the chat if you prefer to communicate that way. I'll look to the chat window every now and then. And for folks both online and in the room, if you ever want to ask a question or throw in a comment, please feel free to raise your hand. Sound good?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So let's get started. My name is Greg Bem, and I'm one of the SEC librarians. How many of you are visiting from BT today? Great, good to see you again. Yes, hi online. I'll just show folks that we do have quite a number of people online today. They exist, they're real. Hello online. And yeah, we're going to be talking about what is GenAI and can it be used ethically. Just to clarify, this is the first of two of the same sessions. I know some of you signed up for Tuesday's session as well. It's the same thing. If you want to hear it a second time, you're more than welcome to come back. But if you feel confident, you get it, you don't need to come back for a second time. I just wanted to clarify that. And let's get going into our agenda today. So today we're going to be talking about our learning outcomes, what I want you to get out of today's session. Then we'll do introductions and a quick Menti activity. That's an interactive activity with your phone where you can answer some questions as a group. Then we'll cover the basics of GenAI. We'll go into some common tool examples, talk about prompts and iterations. We'll talk about in higher education and professional context, how GenAI is showing up. And then we will go through issues and benefits and recommendations. This is a lot to cover in 50 minutes. We'll see how far we get. But I'm hoping to get through the majority of it. And if I go too quickly, again, this is being recorded. You can review, or you can just talk with me after if you have questions or you want more explanation. Does that sound good to folks? All right. So today I want you to take away the basic information on the technology that is generative artificial intelligence. We're going to highlight basic tools, functionality, and trends in GenAI. Share higher ed and professional contexts, identify potential problems and benefits of the technology and ethical considerations, recommend practices for using GenAI at the college here at SEC. So we're going to go really quick and just say our name, program area, and what brings you here today. Folks online, into the chat, and I will read them all just to streamline things. So please enter your answers into the chat, and then we'll go around the room in person and just in 30 seconds, what are your answers to these questions?
My name is Keeson. I'm in the business software specialist program, and then what brings me here today is that pretty much a whole class is here.
Okay, great. And if that's your context, you don't need to answer. And we know that you're from.
My name is Joseph Braid, and
Over here.
My name is Joe Period.
You're in the BT class, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
my name is Bree, and I'm here.
Okay, in the back.
My name is Logan. I'm here for accounting in this class to get points in the grade.
Awesome.
Sarah is for medical.
Medical building. Cool.
Oh, my name is Nolan and I'm here for some business.
Right on.
My name is Christina, and I'm here for business.
My name is Julie. I'm here for medical billing and coding.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Ann Weaver. Can I use the computer phone?
Yes, you can grab one from the card if you want.
I'm studying business, and I'm here because I'm interested in AI.
Great, I'm glad that one of us is interested in it. Yes.
Not that we're not.
I'm Amy, I'm
Corporate assistant, administrative assistant, whatever.
Okay.
I'm Jeff, for a degree in business management. I have a company. I'm just trying to extend my education, so,
Awesome.
and learn about AI.
This is the place to do it.
AI be both.
Okay,
I mean, they're all, studying business AAS and.
awesome. Thank you. Online, we've got Mariah studying business, Sam Hilton, Professor Sam Hilton, here to learn about Gen AI, and I'm a BT SEC librarian supporting and learning from colleagues. Also, Melinda will be helping with some of the image workshops later this quarter. We've got Maya, who is in administrative office management, here for class and learn about Gen AI. We've got Renee in the business and accounting programs. And here's so much about AI negatives, wants to learn about the positives. Jamie in business technology wants to learn more about AI and how we handle it with our students. Giovanna, I am in the administrative assistant program. I'm here to learn. And Janelle Brooks, also one of the BT instructors, here to learn as much as she can. So thank you everyone for sharing a little bit. You will notice on this slide that there is a strange looking image. Many of the images in this slideshow were generated with AI tools. Actually, they're a little bit out of date. They were generated about a year ago. But I want to include them just to show you some examples of what this technology is able to create. So let's jump into a Menti real quick. If you have a phone, take out your phone and scan this QR code. This is a free experience. Folks online, I'm going to share the code with you in a second, and then you can participate as well. And folks, if you are still getting your camera app out, don't worry about it. We've got another way to participate here. Okay, so let me open the QR code on the screen again. So basically what Menti is doing is it's an anonymous way to poll students or people in a presentation. And we've got a few questions to ask today. So if you go to menti.com or scan the QR code, and let me move this out of the way. And then the code for folks online, if you're not able to scan the QR code, I'm going to put in the chat. And we're going to go real quick here because we've got a lot to cover. So if you're, take a second, don't worry about it. The first question is, what's your experience with Gen AI tools? And we've got 0 folks who have never heard of them. That's great to hear. Back when I first started doing these presentations, this was often really high. So we are now in a new chapter of culturally of where this technology is. But we do have some folks who have said they've never used them. We've had some folks who have tried them once or twice. Most folks in the room today have used them when they needed to, every so often. And a few use them nearly every day. Nobody's using any Gen AI right now. Wow. Okay. Guess what, though? This presentation recording is using Gen AI to develop a transcript. So I guess I am technically using it right now. Yeah, let's move on to the next question. If you've used a Gen AI tool, what is its name? Let's take about 30 seconds to answer. If you want to answer out loud, that's fine too. ChatGPT, okay. Whoa, what's going on there? I've never seen it zoom in like that before. That's fun. Okay, so we've got a few varieties of ChatGPT. The big one is the correct spelling, just for the record, and it is one word, though we do have some alternative spellings. We've got Perplexity and Claude coming in. We're going to take a look at Perplexity in this presentation, actually, and see what it does. Copilot, which is Microsoft's, is quite popular. Gemini, which is Google's, quite popular. Grammarly, which is specifically for writing. They have a lot of Gen AI functionality now. Great. Thank you all. Good contributions. For folks that have never heard of any of these, it might be of note to write them down. They are included in this presentation on a future slide, but these are definitely the most popular tools out there currently. And if you've heard of them but haven't tried them yet, or maybe you don't use them very often. You can answer this as well. What is the main reason? You're not interested, no free time, don't know enough about the tools, or you don't see them applying to your life or interests. And clearly the majority is the third option, don't know enough about it. So that's always fascinating for me as an educator. How are we learning about this technology? How are we getting exposed to it? For me, it's just automatic because I'm inundated with everything as a librarian. But a lot of people, I think, are often left out of the loop, or they just don't get enough education to explore and feel comfortable exploring. That's the case with a lot of technology. Okay, so clearly the majority have that answer. And then, folks, you probably heard of an ethical issue related to artificial intelligence, even if you've never used it or don't really know what it means. What is one ethical issue? What's one issue about this technology being good or bad, right or wrong in society? And I see the answers are coming in. Yes, hand raised in the classroom. Wrong information, great. And we've got answers here, including running out of water. So yes, the technology uses physical resources, hand raised.
So I heard, that it was negative when I first heard about it, but like I heard AI is like, and obviously, it was probably a biased opinion, but I heard that like AI would really like take over.
Take over, yes.
Yeah,
Take over in what sense? Like everything?
like, kind of like, like a magnetic, like, have you ever heard of like the magnetic pulse or whatever? Magnetic pulses where like.
For the earth, you mean?
Could be like all the computers could get shut down.
Oh, I see what you mean. So kind of like
So,
taking
like,
over all.
not specifically with that, but it was just like AI is like not a good thing
Mhm.
and like AI was gonna take over. So it was just, I didn't know enough about it, but I just had a negative first impression.
Sure. Yeah, and there's a lot of science fiction and historical works that describe scenarios where the world ends or where humanity ends because technology, whether it's AI or something else, has taken over. And in some cases, when we have technology that is getting popular and prolific, it's easy to go down that path. Running out of water, bias in information, environmental issues, wrong information again, copyright issues, plagiarism, stolen intellectual property, cheapening education, cheating dash not using brain anymore, killing imagination. Wow, that's an intense one, and that's a really important consideration. Deep fake technology, over reliance, we rely on it too much. Without human input, AI can be dangerous. A big one here, large amounts of energy consumption, taking away jobs or replacing jobs, loss of the need to think, discrimination. These are fantastic. It's really great for me to see that a lot of folks in this room have a lot of ideas about the issues already. Sometimes we, in the SEC library, like to go deeper with these. And so usually once or twice a year, we'll run specific workshops on these ethical issues, but we will cover these and some additional ones later in this presentation as an overview. And it's good that you're aware of them because when we're choosing to use them or not, this is all part of that conversation. Okay, final question, and then we're going to go back to the presentation. What is one word you would use to describe how you feel about this technology today? Yes. Is that a personal dash assistant? 2 words. Yes, that is a compound word, personal assistant. Okay. We've got online skeptical, powerful, excited, nervous, hesitant, interesting, unsure, overwhelmed, helpful in business, lazy, advance, don't like it. Take a photo here. So, personally, as somebody that is concerned with this technology, I like to point out the wide spectrum of our experiences with it, and also saying that where you're at is okay. We're all in different places, and it's okay to be in any of those places. And it's not necessarily that we're trying to get to one place. It's very complex. So it's good, I think, that we are reflecting on how we're feeling about this technology, because it is directly impacting our lives, and it's directly impacting the lives of everyone around us in so many different ways. So I see nervous is the largest one right now. That's great. It's good to be nervous and cautious and even anxious about this new technology. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, even if you still are nervous, you'll just have more information, more context to go forward and explore it confidently. And that may help with that nervousness. It may not. We don't know. But it's okay if you're nervous right now. It's also okay for all of the other statuses that you have right now. Okay, so let's go back to this presentation. Thank you all for participating. Did you like the Menti? Cool, easy to use. And let's see, can I just restart this current slide? There we go. So let's continue by opening it up to the definition. So artificial intelligence, we'll start with that first. And IBM, a big tech company, defines artificial intelligence as technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human learning, comprehension, problem solving, decision making, creativity, and autonomy. So AI is doing or trying to do what humans are doing. That is the big thing. And it is not human, it is artificial. So it is a simulation. AI is also a field or discipline. So when we think about AI, it's not just what we see in the movies, it's not just this abstract thing, but it is something that can be focused on or studied or specialized in across different fields, including computer science, data analytics and statistics, hardware and software, engineering, linguistics, neuroscience, philosophy, psychology. We're even seeing AI in other fields we've never seen it in before as a discipline. So how is AI and culinary arts a thing now? There are specialists who only look at AI in the context of cooking and baking, for example. There are AI specialists who are looking at AI through the lens of art and design. And so we're seeing that over the last 2 years, it's grown exponentially. It is becoming a cultural phenomenon as much as is the technology itself. That's AI in general. GenAI is a specific type of AI. So when we say GenAI, that's the ChatGPT and Gemini Copilot. That's the abbreviation. And generative AI refers to deep learning models. So those are the systems, the computer systems that are being processed to generate high quality text, images, and other content based on data they were trained in. So if we took all of the documents that were ever created and we threw them onto one computer and we ran an algorithm, we ran a computer system to say, what are all of these things that have been created by humans and been created in the world, and learn about that, learn about it as we tell you to, that's what GenAI is doing. And then once it has learned, once it has absorbed and processed all of that information, then it can generate the images, the text responses, the grammar fixes, all of those things that we're seeing these tools doing in everyday life. So real quick, here is an example of what AI looks like. I'm not going to go through all of this, but GenAI is a very small version of artificial intelligence in a much larger model. So GenAI can do the content creation, but when we move forward to other forms of AI, it can do incredible things, at least in theory. It can go from generating funny cat videos to supporting systemic solutions for healthcare, space exploration, environmental management. All of the challenges that humanity face, in theory, large systems of AI working with really powerful computer systems could potentially push humanity even further than it could go on its own. But a lot of it is hypothetical. If you've ever seen any of these movies, there are countless others. You'll know what I mean. Minority Report, WALL-E, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Her, Ex Machina, Alien, all of these movies that we see that are sci-fi are leaning towards those ideas and where this technology may take us.
Draw iRobot.
That's another good one. Yeah, iRobot. Any other examples? Yeah. Terminator. That's a really good one. A lot of people are like, be nice to ChatGPT because when it turns into all those robots with guns, you don't want the guns pointed at you, which may or may not happen. We already see robotics and AI intersecting, and the security and defense implications of this technology are huge. China already has essentially an army of robots with guns that run on GenAI. So it's happening. Yes.
Short circuit?
Short circuit. Yeah, it's another good one. Great. So just some basic qualities on GenAI. These are some good things for you to know about and you can look up on your own because this is an intro. LLMs, large language models. That's how it all works. When I described throwing a bunch of documents into one computer or one bin and saying, learn what this is, that's how it works. You can watch YouTube videos about how it actually works, but essentially it's looking for patterns. It's looking for patterns to understand what is a cat, what is a sentence in proper grammar, what is a word in English or Arabic. It will have millions and millions of examples of those in order to generate those on its own. Each of these models have names. So GPT in ChatGPT, that is literally the name of the model. And there are versions. We are now at ChatGPT 5. So when a company creates a new revolution in their technology, they release a new version, just like any other technology, just like your OS on your phone or Windows 10, Windows 11. They are incrementally expanding the technology and releasing it in new models. Another example, DeepThink, which is a free GenAI tool created by China, R1. R stands for reasoning. So these words have meanings behind them. They're not just gobbledygook. Another thing to note is that these GenAI tools have access to a lot of different types of data. So I mentioned throwing in the history of human documents and all the books and the movies and the articles. It also is looking at social media posts. How many of you use social media? How many of you use Reddit or know about Reddit? They take all of those posts and they throw them into the bucket too. And they say, what is a meme? And what does this meme mean? And all of that, all those conversations on politics, all of those videos of that you'll see, they're all in there. And that is helping train these models as well. And often there are very, very expensive contracts between the social media companies and the GenAI companies in order to get access to that data. So your data, when you're posting on social media, may be feeding these systems. Another key thing to remember is that these tools often require user input. Somebody in the Menti said that without user input, without human input, it's really dangerous. We're also seeing human input that is dangerous and not dangerous. And there's a lot to that. Somebody just got caught, or no, they haven't gotten caught yet. Somebody just scammed 17 different companies and extorted these companies for millions and millions of dollars. This is like the story that came out yesterday or the day before. They did it anonymously and they just asked the GenAI tool to help them steal all this money. So it's happening with human influence as well. These tools are being developed by who? Who is creating these tools? Does anyone know who created Copilot? I said it earlier. Microsoft. Who created Gemini? Google. Who created Claude? Anthropic. Who funded Claude? Who is one of the major investors? Amazon. Who's building a lot of the major GenAI data centers in Washington State? Amazon. So you can see there's a lot that's being done by for-profit organizations, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other people participating in this conversation as well. In addition to people just using the tools, we have developers, individuals and nonprofits that are contributing to this space as well. There is a very popular website called Hugging Face. It's a weird name, I know, but you can actually go see individual developers contributing to the GenAI platforms and releasing technology for free, open source, on Hugging Face to see like the latest models as they emerge. And you could even become a software developer and contribute to them yourself. A lot of it is open source. You can access these tools and technology through your web browser, mobile apps, and some offline options. So if you Google offline GenAI tools, there are some that exist. And then if you go off into the mountains, you can still have access to the GenAI tools if you really want it out there. We are seeing the tools as standalone software. Most of the tools do have apps for both iOS and Android. So you can download the apps now and have them installed easily. You can also access in the browser. We're now also seeing, and this needs to be updated, we're now also seeing these tools creating web browsers of their own. Perplexity launched this year Comet. And Comet, they're saying they want Comet to replace Chrome and Firefox, and it's entirely AI powered. When you type in a search, it uses Perplexity. It doesn't use Google or Bing. And so it just wants, their goal is to get people to use Perplexity to do all of their web searching, which is a major, major paradigm shift. We also see it, you've probably noticed it, that in Windows, Copilot is everywhere. If you have an Android phone, you probably noticed that Gemini is everywhere. GenAI is also showing up in other tools. Whether you like it or not, it's now in all of the Adobe apps. And so people are being imposed upon with this integration of this type of technology. There's other technologies like Grammarly. Canva is a really popular free design tool that you can access in your browser, and they're all about GenAI. Welcome. So here are a few popular ones for folks that haven't taken the plunge or haven't seen them yet. Again, you'll get the copy of this slide, so you don't have to write these down if you don't want. But we've got ChatGPT and Copilot and Gemini, Claude, and DeepSeek. Reminder, DeepSeek is the free one that was released through China. So the others are all primarily US-based companies. Here are some common outputs. So if you've never used or seen a GenAI tool in action, you can generate plain text. You can ask it to write you a love poem and it will do that. Or you can ask it to create a schedule for getting your classwork done on time. It'll do that. It'll create it in formatted text like tables, bolded text, headers. It can even do computer code. Have any of you heard of vibe coding before? So that's another term that's getting really popular. We're seeing people that can now create computer programs and they literally don't know anything about computer programming. They don't know any software, any language for coding. They've never done it, but you can literally ask these tools to create for you a game or a clock app or literally any kind of system you want. Yeah, and these tools now can do it, and these apps that it will create in 5 minutes or less will work. Yeah, and again, you don't need to know anything about computer programming. You just talk to it, and that's why they call it vibe coding, because you're not actually coding. You're just kind of like going with the flow, right? So you might see that come up if you research GenAI more. We'll get to that. there's a concept called guardrails, and some of it is, most of it is not regulated by anybody, but there are some regulations. They can generate, oh, did you have a? Yeah, and it probably got that from all of the people posting about it on social media, as well as books and websites, and it may or may not be correct. Yes. There are tools that can do that. So that question was about like how to create movies and tweak characters. And yes, we can do that. The question before that was, is there any kind of government oversight? And we will talk about guardrails in a bit. Yes, if you're interested in looking into movie making with GenAI and where that's going, Sora 2, Sora, that's an app that is created by OpenAI, same people that created ChatGPT, Sora 2, and that is able to create whole films basically by editing prompts over and over and over again with audio. And it's gotten quite controversial. And yes, you can also create full videos, you can create music. There are now, unfortunately or fortunately, a gazillion AI musicians on YouTube and Spotify. Have any of you encountered any of these? So they're everywhere. Some are making a lot of money and we don't even know who's behind it, which is kind of wild. There's also, in terms of deep fakes or impersonated and fake music, we have impersonations. I think there was a big one last year. There was a song by Drake and The Weeknd, and it was entirely fake. So there's also the ability to emulate or simulate popular musicians or bands. And again, it's doing the same thing. It's looking at saying, here's 100 Drake songs. What does Drake sound like? What is his voice like? What are his lyrics like? What are his beats like? Let's know what that is. And let's just do a new one, a new variation on that. And that's how it works, the same way as generating any of the other content. So prompts and iterations, this is really important to know. A prompt is what you type into the tool to get an output. Okay, it's the input. So similar to how you search in Google, you prompt ChatGPT to get its response. It could be one or more words. I think the really attractive thing about these tools is that they use regular old human language. You don't need to be an expert. You can literally just talk the way you talk normally or type the way you type normally, and it should be able to understand you. And it can also handle different languages, not just English. And then the idea that there are iterations. So iterations mean more than once. So if you're having an iterative conversation with this tool, that means you can go back and forth. You can say, generate a chicken coop plan for me. Oh, thank you, but I live in the Pacific Northwest and here are the rain conditions. Maybe I need a specific type of roof. Okay, it'll update. Oh, I have 100 chickens. That might be a little bit different than 10. And then it will provide a refined response as you have that conversation with it. So unlike Google or Bing, where it's one search, one response, and that's it, this is iterative. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
And some people have conversations for months with these tools. That's a whole nother conversation. But they'll have one long conversation for a very specific project or reason, and it kind of becomes going back to that personal assistant idea, it can become almost like a person that you have a conversation with it. And it will know everything that has happened in the conversation up to that point. It has a very strong memory. If you want to learn more about prompting, you can Google or research prompt engineering, which is the optimization of using prompts. Sometimes you might hear of prompt engineering being a skill set. You might also hear people say that prompt engineering is not possible. It's fake. It's a fake concept. Very interesting stuff there. But the reality is, because you're all in college and you all want to go into the workforce, you may encounter a Gen AI tool in the future, and knowing how to use it efficiently or knowing what it will do, becoming optimized with it, is something to be concerned with or consider. Here are some examples. Let's go to some examples of prompts. So we heard about the chicken coop idea. For others who have used one of the Gen AI tools here or online, what have you asked it or what have you used it for?
I use ChatGPT to make a scenic picture of my car. I
Okay,
just inputted a picture I had before. I just said, make my car drive down the highway at 60 miles an hour on a sunset with a forest in the back, and it generated a picture.
okay, cool. Good example. Did it work?
Yeah, it worked pretty good.
So for those online, using a tool to generate an image of your car in a specific setting. Yeah, with details that you identify. Anybody else in the room? Yeah. Okay, so using it to create a meal plan and helping with buying groceries or selecting groceries. Cool. Another plan, an exercise plan, creating an exercise plan. Anything else? Anyone online or anyone over here? Okay. Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I should share this, but sometimes I use it for my personal counselor.
Personal counselor. What do you mean?
Like if I feel like I need somebody to talk to, I talk to the AI,
Hey,
which I don't recommend, but it's really nice. It's very, will validate your feelings for you and.
very important to recognize. So yeah, these tools can be conversational. So in the room, we had an example of a personal counselor. There are a lot of ethical issues with that. And we're seeing a lot of people doing that, and even companies developing tools where their AI will be like a chat bot or someone that can just chat with you, or someone in air quotes. But there are also a lot of examples of people over relying on these chat tools, and there being some negative consequences. I'm not going to go into that. You can look it up. There were like 4 articles in the New York Times this year on mental health and AI alone. So if that sounds interesting to you, take a look. Online, we've got planning my garden from one person, and we've also got planning my retirement, adjusting recipes for available ingredients, travel itineraries. So a lot of organizational examples. I love those. There's some other ones. You could ask it if you wanted to have a question or get to an answer around why do so many people like poetry? Describe quantum mechanics to a 10-year-old. So maybe you don't understand quantum mechanics or physics and you're like, I just want to learn it like in the simplest way possible. Something that's really specific about a specific constraint. How do I make gluten-free pizza and make sure it tastes delicious? Can we talk? Can we talk about the life, universe, and everything? What can I do to get over test anxiety for my college course? Where should I look for information about the latest research in nursing? So college-oriented stuff. Please provide some feedback on my resume. Most of these tools, you can upload documents now. There are privacy issues with that, but you could upload your resume and ask for feedback, and it might be able to provide something good. You can also, we're seeing some cool stuff with helping out with old documents, old photos. Turn this old scanned black and white photo of my grandparents into a cleaned up, realistic color picture. It's able to do that now. Put all of the dates from this month into a spreadsheet and include empty fields for tasks and the required team members. So you can use this for some of your work in an office setting as well. So given that we have like 10 minutes left, I'm just going to show you Perplexity today because a lot of you already know ChatGPT and Copilot is everywhere, but I don't think people have seen Perplexity before. So we're going to take a look at that real quick. and I'm just going to show you Perplexity so you can see an example of a GenAI tool in action. And when it comes to GenAI tools, I do actively recommend this one for students over others, mostly because for Perplexity, it always provides sources by default. So one of the issues we have in education is students will use these tools and they'll just assume that the information is correct. Not everybody. I know many people critically think about it, but some students don't critically think about what they're getting. Perplexity offers you all of the websites and sources of the information when you are doing any kind of search. So I'm just going to use, first I'll show you the user interface. The middle is the prompt bar. So that's where you would enter your prompt and start your conversation. There's a bunch of little tools you can activate. So we're not going to go into all of those today, but essentially you would just ask Perplexity for information about whatever you're interested in or whatever you need to find out. And then it provides a bunch of like recent news in the autocomplete. But let me see. Tell me a bit about the history of Spokane. So if I do that and I search for that, again, here's why I like it as a librarian, as an educator. It's going to give the sources at the top. And then what it's doing is it's actively looking at those sources. It has its GenAI model, its large language model, learn what's on those pages in real time. In a blink of an eye, it will look at the 9 sources and it will say, here is what it says. I am going to summarize that information and provide that information. And then it also includes citations with the information it provides. And then it will provide follow-up questions. And I can say, okay, tell me more about the Native American history of the area. And I don't have to say Spokane again. Remember, iterative. It's remembering the conversation. And so it knows that we're talking about Spokane, and it's going to provide new sources, more information, and I can go and I can expand or contrast or whatever I want to do on any of it. And I can go scroll up to see the whole conversation as I need to. Does that make sense to folks? So this can be a really useful tool in addition to something like Google or Bing if you're just looking for information and those sources. Yes. Okay. One thing to note is that you can sign in and then it doesn't matter how you sign in, but once you sign in, you can actually go into the upgrade and the education plan for anyone that has an EDU email, including all of you and me, get access to the pro version for free, which is nice. Why is that nice? Because it gives you more sources than just the default. It'll actually give you like 35 sources, which is kind of cool. So if you're doing research at the college, that will help. Okay, we need to fast forward to ethical issues. So this is really, really important for an intro because what I want you to take away, remember those learning outcomes, is questioning the good and the bad, the right and the wrong, the ethics behind all of these tools. You're going to be going into more college classes, have research assignments. You're going to have the ability to use these tools to help you with your work. But remember that there are problems that we need to think about when it comes to these tools. Citation and intellectual theft. So if you use these tools to get your work going in your mind, there may be issues with that. If you're asking it to write your paper for you, that's going to be problematic, right? Also, some of these tools don't tell you where the information is coming from. So technically, those tools might be plagiarizing. Not even necessarily you, but they might be stealing information or using information without citation, and that in itself is an issue. Whether or not you can use these tools or you're invited to use these tools depends on your professor at the college. So if your instructor says you can use them in certain ways, you should listen to them. If they say no, there's an issue with these tools and what I'm trying to get you to do and learn, you should listen to that because your professor will be experienced in what they want you to get out of that course material. Also note, and this goes back to the pro version of Perplexity, but all of these tools have paid versions. So there's an equity issue. Who can afford to access, who cannot? Once you go out into the workforce, you might be competing with people who have a lot of experience using paid tools. So if you're not paying for it, that's fine. That's your own choice, potentially, or you might not have the money to, so it might not be your choice, but there might be an issue with access. And then also internet. Most of these tools do require internet. We did bring this up earlier during the Menti, but there is the requirement of resource use. So just like any other technology, watching Netflix, ordering something on Amazon, there's going to be resource costs. There's going to be electricity cost, and there's going to be water costs. Why water? Because water cools those data centers where all of these computer systems are running. There's also the fact that data centers are being built on the land that's available. So there's issues with the data centers impacting the environment that is usually empty, meaning usually natural. And so what does that mean for the world, not only today, but in 30 years from now? Impacts on learning. So if you are asking these tools to come up with information, how are you interacting with that information? If it generates that chicken coop for you, where in that process are you actively still thinking about the chicken coop versus just getting the plan and absorbing it, like just taking it in automatically without critically thinking about it? Not saying that that's happening, but it could happen. And over reliance on these tools over time could impact how we all interact with information and how we all learn or don't learn. Going back to that question on who is looking over these tools, the reality is there aren't a lot of federal laws in place regarding these tools right now. There are some regarding copyright, but a lot of it is still 5 years in, or not 5 years, 4 years in, is kind of the Wild West. It's the tech companies that are really leaning into what is off limits, what is not off limits. Specific topics, specific conflicts in the world, political events and situations, sex and sexuality, violence, crime. These things may or may not be accessible topics in the tools. Should they all be allowed? Free speech, right? First Amendment. We technically should be able to study and talk about whatever we want in the world. But some tech companies don't allow for that because they don't want to influence certain things or participate in certain controversial things. And then really big one here, real quick, I know we're a little bit over time now. GenAI tools carry systemic biases. So remember how I said we're throwing all of the things in the world in a big bucket and it's learning from them? That includes all of those racist Facebook posts. That includes all of that sexist literature from 100 years ago. That includes the whole span of biases we see in the world. And so when you get those responses or conversations going, you really need to consider where that's showing up. Okay, real quick, there's a lot of, you can see all of this in the PowerPoint when I send it out. But a few final student recommendations before we part ways today. When you're going forward here at the college, I want you to think about these things. At the very beginning of your course, look at the syllabus or the assignment for language around GenAI. If you're using it here, start with what is permissible. If your syllabus or assignment doesn't say, talk with your professor, your instructor early on I can't tell you how many times people have gotten in trouble for using ChatGPT for help on their papers, and their professor caught them or assumed. And then it gets into this really messy conflict with your professor. You don't want that. So clarify at the beginning. Be aware of differing opinions. Some folks love GenAI, some folks hate it at the college and in life. And always be clear about how you use it. If you're going to use it with your college work, tell your professor that you're using it. And critically think about how it's impacting your learning. It might be really awesome to use, but acknowledge over-reliance. And finally, stay up to date with news and trends with GenAI. We are going to have 3 more workshops later this quarter. I think most of you saw those on the form to register for this. There's one of the same ones of this next week, but then after that, we're going to be doing 3 specifically about images. Did you all enjoy this? All right, cool. We didn't cover everything, but it's all in the PowerPoint, and I invite you to chat with us if you have any questions. Thank you, folks online. We'll send out the recording. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you, everyone online. Yeah.
Yeah.